Welcome back to the podcast, where today we're on episode 4 and we're talking about influential artists that we like. Gavin is one of my guests, along with Ezra.
Hello, I'm Ezra Levechi.
Yeah, you are Ezra Levechi. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's go ahead and get on to our first topic, and I'm going to ask Gavin this first, but, Gavin, what was life like prior for your artist before getting into music?
Artist?
Yeah, the artist that you want to talk about for music.
Well, I had two. Well, not two.
Oh, well,
Um,
do both if you.
I didn't look into that.
Oh, that's fair.
I
I
wasn't prepared for that part of the question. I'm sorry.
Well, Ezra, I think we kind of know yours, don't we? Because you said yours
The
was
life of my artist. It really is hard to say because there's a lot of artists. Because I'm talking about sea shanties. When it comes to sea shanties, you see, it was very very important for it because they had to keep their morale up. Because if they didn't, they were going to probably blow their heads off because of how bored they were.
Well,
This feels like it just turned into an Alex Jones podcast.
yeah,
This just
in my
became a
head.
conspiracy.
So, well, to begin with, Ezra, that had nothing to do with the question, but hey,
When it comes to sea
at least now we
shanties, it
know.
wasn't just one artist; it's multiple artists.
yeah, I
It's
know,
multiple
but I
people.
still had to ask you the question, though, Ezra. But for
Yeah, I
mine,
know.
from my understanding, for one of mine, the band Sabaton, they started off just doing like small gigs and stuff around Sweden and stuff, and then for the other ones, I don't really know. I'm not sure. I didn't really have time to do research before this.
I feel like a lot of people who are doing this podcast as well are going to talk about the Beatles, and I was going to talk about the Beatles. But if
Oh, the Beatles.
if y'all hear about the Beatles, I don't need to explain the backstory and all.
Yeah,
And I was
the
also
Beatles
going
are
to talk
the
about
Beatles.
Muddy Waters and Otis Rush, but I didn't know that was one of the questions that we had to look into. So they definitely got to music. Birth and music between there, it was a little hazy.
like a thing or two happened. I think. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, something had to have happened.
Maybe
I'll
like
leave it at that.
living or something. I don't know. But my other one, David Bowie. I'm pretty sure I remember faintly that he went to like a couple musical schools and stuff and did like small gigs and stuff, most artists do. But other than that, I'm not really too sure. But now on to our second question. Explain the artist's musical journey. Now this one will be interesting, because Ezra's topic. How did they get started and get their success? Blah blah blah, all that good stuff. So once again, because I feel like Gavin's will be the most interesting because he's actually kind of looked into his. Gavin, why don't you start us off?
Well, if you can hear my old creaky chair, excuse that. I'm sorry. For the Beatles, the musical journey, it started off in Britain.
Britain.
It was very formal, I guess. If you've seen old Beatles recordings, that's all them just standing or in their thing. They're standing straight. They've got nice clothes on. They're not doing any theatrics. My favorite band is Guns N' Roses. So, and when you see like a live rock concert, there's a lot going on. But for them, it was just stand and play. Then you get into like the 70s and like the musical, like the drugs and stuff. You're gonna get into musical. You're gonna get into a lot of different things, especially with different instruments and experimentation. As for the other people, my topic or the people that I was going to focus on were a part of the Chicago blues musicians, and they definitely came from blues backgrounds with like the Delta down in like New Orleans and kind of area. Delta blues was very inspired by their stuff, so they probably spent a lot of time down there. And then the introduction of amplified or electronic music, I say, like electric guitars and stuff. The string bass compared to the double bass, stuff like that. I know I'm getting into terms and I'm kind of rambling like I usually do, but there was a big paradigm shift from acoustic stuff they've always been using to electric stuff. So that was definitely a big part of it. Ezra?
Yeah. Ezra, how about your sea shanties?
Repeat the question.
Explain
kinda
the
lost
artist. Explain the artist's musical journey.
All right, the musical journey. At first, they went from possibly farming. Look at the Pilgrims. They went from farming, and then they went to a land. They have no idea what's on it. Then they probably, while they were sailing, they were probably trying to whistle snap their fingers. I don't know. Probably bang on some frying pans. I don't know. But while they were making these noises, they were going ooga booga, me make fire.
On the
But
ship?
they didn't make the fire. They
They
made
made the fire on the
in
ship.
their mind. Now, let me explain. Because they get a good thought process and they go to be way, and then they all go at it.
They all just go down on sea shanties.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Bones on the Ocean
They
is
go.
made?
They sink the ship. They sink the
Mhm,
ship with their
because
sea shanty.
because like Ezra said, they went ooga booga and they made a fire. So
You've heard bring the house down. Now they brought the ocean down.
they sunk the ship.
They became
They
Moses
sunk the
in
ship.
path.
Well, for mine,
They just
They parted the
they
sea.
parted the entire
with their
ship,
beak.
dude, with the beats.
I'm
of
sorry.
the
Go ahead,
ship.
Dakota.
But with mine, like with Sabaton, you know, what was the question? Oh yeah, the musical
Repeat the
journey.
question.
Okay, so their musical journey for Sabaton, I kind of like where they started off, because they made their first album called Metalizer, and then they went and played it at like some metal concert, or like some festival for metal. I forgot what it was called, and like journalists kept like ragging on them, but at the same time, there's just this one picture of them like of their lead singer where he took his pants off and put them on his head. So pretty
I hate
good.
to go off topic real quick, but I just threw up in my mouth. That is all.
Good answer. Good answer. Next question, Dakota.
Okay, so continuing what I was saying. Okay, so he took off his pants, put them on his head during the concert, and then like people, you're like, oh, these guys are blah, 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 they're bad, but whatever, they're not gonna make it. Then they like destroyed everything, not literally, but like metaphorically destroyed everything, because they did really
Right.
good after that. Now they're like one of the top power metal bands. And then with David Bowie, he did a lot of like he came up with a bunch of like albums that failed at first, and then he made Space Oddity. Then he did a bunch of coke. So that's
Yeah.
his. That was pretty much his entire musical journey. And then that's kind of all I got. But now on to the last question. What are some influential things that the artist has done for music and society at large, any nonprofit or community building? Gavin?
Okay, so I did. I should say this. I came prepared to answer questions like, what did they do to influence music and stuff, not like what did they do
That's-
for charity work.
That's
so I didn't plan
that's
for
a
that.
part of the question, actually. What you researched is part
Okay,
of the question.
okay,
It's just
good.
like either like
Good.
for music, for society, like or like both.
Okay. Well, the Beatles definitely did a lot of music. I'm sure everyone heard that they're the most
Yeah,
influential
they're
people.
like 3 good
But
songs.
that is, yeah, I don't really like the Beatles. I personally think they're like, I don't want to say overrated, but they're
overrated.
fairly rated for what they are. But they did experiment with a lot of stuff. They tried a
Like
lot
drugs.
of different genres. They even reached, a lot of drugs too. They even reached like Indian music at one point. It was kind of, it was weird, but it was something interesting. It was new. They also made new ways of recording that artists still are using today, like recording their music. Yeah, but that's people who are listening to this probably are going to hear about the Beatles a lot during this podcast and stuff. So I wanted to hit people in the Chicago blues genre. That was the first kind of genre to incorporate things like the electric guitar and the string bass and things like a rhythm section, like having a bass and a drummer intentionally. That's like a core thing of that kind of music compared to just being, one of the things that's there. So that, and they also they started using the things that we have nowadays, and it started paving the way for rock music, because love it or hate it, rock music's a part of history, or 1920s, not 20s, 1900s history. That's a big part of it, or a good 30 years of it. So
Okay.
it was a starting ground for it. I'm rambling.
I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but I just noticed that like for like the entire time you were explaining that, Ezra was just staring into his camera.
I've been doing that this entire podcast.
and now it's like
Nervous.
you look a lot like a
A serial
Okay,
killer?
whatever. No,
You look like a pit boss.
no, more like a pixelated person, but still, Ezra, how is your artists, I guess, influenced society? Have they
What was the question at the very end that I noticed that's really good for my topic is how do they build up community? Is that what it was?
That's talking about like charity work and stuff, like donating. I don't
The
think they've done
charity
anything.
work when it came to sea shanties is when they actually made it to the end of their journey. They helped made buildings that allowed them to live, and they made buildings for their kids as well. So they did give charity work to their kids, and they also helped farming, and that farming actually helped them. Then they met some Indians. Then they did the first Thanksgiving, and
Ezra, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the Pilgrims
yeah.
sang sea shanties. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
I think they did.
I think they were just depressed on the ship. They didn't have
Yeah.
anything to do.
I think they just hated the journey.
No, I think they did sing because they were there for like what 2 months. It was like 2 or 3 months.
It was
that
definitely
they're
longer than
sailing.
2 months, though.
Well, I
I
don't.
couldn't
know
spend
how
2 or
long
3
it
months with
was.
y'all. I can't even spend like 5 hours with y'all.
I
without
can't
just
spend
getting tired
5
of y'all.
minutes with you guys without wanting to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm autistic, so I don't know how it is.
Well, now that Ezra's explained his part, I'm gonna go on to my people. Well, of course, Sabaton being a band that sings about history, they have influenced society and whatever by teaching younger people who have found their music.
Mine was history.
Has taught younger people who found their music about history, in an era where people are caring less and less about history. And David Bowie, man, that guy made like at least 20 like different genres of music from like his like one. It was pretty crazy. It's pretty awesome. And then this one actually just popped in my mind. Black Sabbath, Gavin. Black Sabbath, you know them pretty well, right? They literally made heavy metal a thing.
If I can touch on that for like really quickly,
Yes.
Tony Iommi lost 2 of his fingers in a factory accident. I know this is a little bit. I'm gonna get into like music theory, but I'm not gonna get into music theory. There's a thing in music and guitar called power chords, which is a 2-finger chord. It is the easiest kind of thing, and it sounds the best on the lower strings. So that's where metal mostly kind of came from. Is the idea of having easy power chords that you can just kind of move up and down the guitar neck, and not have to worry about moving a lot of your fingers. Because he had like these artificial fingers that he made, and they were good for what they were, but you don't want to be using them the entire time. You want to use your main fingers at work. So he was mainly using power chords, and that's what led to the popularization of that kind of music and metal and stuff. So that's what I can offer.
Well, now that we've answered all of all the questions here, that's the end of the podcast. It's over. We're done.
We did it.
Yeah.
Now back to the Pilgrim.